Men are powerful.
No, women are powerful.
It is never like that. We are all equal. Greetings to everyone there. Today we will be discussing, or we will be representing about gender roles according to functionalist view and conflict theorist view. So my panel and I, we will be looking at various issues that surround the society whereby we see what conflict theory does to the people and what functionalist views say on these gender roles. So come with me as we prepare on an excursion to look at various ways in which we see society as a whole.
Gender refers to the socially constructed characteristics of women and men, such as norms, roles, and relationships of and between groups of women and men. It varies from society to society and it can be changed. While most people are born either male or female, they are taught appropriate norms and behaviors, including how they should interact with others of the same opposite sex within households, communities, and workplace. Moreover, gender norms, roles, and relationships influence people's susceptibility to different health conditions and diseases, and it also affects their enjoyment of good mental health and physical health, and also the well-being of their own. They also have a bearing on people's access to and uptake of health services and on the health outcomes they experience throughout the life course. Furthermore, when individuals or groups do not fit established gender norms, it often results in conflicts such as they face stigma, discriminatory practices, or even social exclusion.
However, in sociology, gender does not depend on biological traits. It describes how societies determine the sexual categories, the cultural meaning attached to male and female role, and how individuals understand their identities, not limited to their sexuality. Gender involves social norms, attitude, and activities that are approved by the society for one sex over another and how an individual should feel. Sociology of gender examines how society influences our understanding of the differences between masculinity and femininity. It examines how, in turn, influences identity and social approaches. It is also based on the behavior of an individual and how they interact with others. Sociologists of gender study social interaction of gender with race, class, power, and oppression, religion, culture, and sexuality. All this lead to how gender functions and the conflicts on gender in our societies. Sociologists view gender as learned behavior and as culturally produced identity, and as such, it is a social category.
Functionalist view on gender. Functionalist posits that gender roles arise from need to establish a division of labor that would help maintain the smooth running of the family and contribute to the stability of a society. In this view, girls and boys are taught different approaches, and boys are taught different approaches in life. Boys are taught instrumentality. This is to be goal-oriented, to focus on tasks, and to be content for the relationship of the family to outside society structure. Girls, on the other hand. Functionalist view is that women have crucial importance for socialization of children, and if children do not have mothers or care of mothers, they might have very serious social and psychological disorder. So according to function theorists, there are certain roles for men and women derives from the logic differences on the other hand. In contemporary society, those discrete roles are going to be less distinguished. Gender is something efficient in order more society in proper ways by giving male and female distinct roles, and also gender to build social unity that men and women get together in a family.
The critique of the functionalist view on gender. They focuses too much on the positive function that the institution performs, ignoring the negative ways in which institution and socialization can have on certain people. The feminists, for example, they argue that traditional nuclear family, which is seen as the as necessary by preaches oppresses women, as they are expected to fulfill the housewife's role, which ultimately makes women depend on men for an income, and ends up benefiting men who benefit from women's emotional and domestic labor. They also ignore the real dark side of the family life, the domestic violence. The functionalist theory itself ideological by arguing that societies need nuclear families to provide effective socialization. This theory itself reinforces the social order. Radical feminists will argue against the idea that the nuclear family is necessary, as shown by the fact that most single-parent families do a good job as socializing children as nuclear families. However, functionalists would still argue that most people are better off with clear boundaries provided by the socialization through institution, as this prevents enemies which could still be regarded as a case of modern societies. Interactionist criticizes functionalism for being a deterministic theory. Human behavior is portrayed as being shaped by the social system, as if individuals are programmed by social institutions, being the puppets of social forces.
I am going to talk about the topic under the functionalist point of view, where we're looking at gender roles. Gender role means the way one should dress, groom, and conduct ourselves upon our assigned sexes, where girls are expected to dress feminine in the feminine way and be polite, and where generally men are expected to be strong and aggressive. In this topic, I'm going to quote some three main topics where I'm going to look at the personal traits, domestic behaviors, and occupations. Okay, where personal traits, women are expected to be accommodating and emotional, while men are expected to be self-confident and aggressive. Domestic behaviors, women are expected to take care of the children, cook and clean the house, while men are expected to take care of finances and do the home repairs. Occupations, some people as the teachers and nurses are women, while pilots and educators and engineers are men.
Conflict theory tells us about gender inequality. According to conflict theory, society is a struggle for dominance among social groups like women versus men that compete for scarce resources. When sociologists examine gender from this perspective, we can view men as dominant group and women as the subordinate group. According to conflict theory, social problems are created when dominant group exploits or oppress subordinate group. It is difficult for women to rise above men as dominant group members create the rulers for success and opportunity in the society. According to conflict theory, it is defined by the struggle for dominance between social groups that competes for resources. In relationship to gender, conflict theory explains that gender inequality came to exist because the men are trying to maintain power and privilege at the cost of women's benefit. What do I mean by this? If we take at the cost of women's benefit, quick tour to South African history, it is quite obvious that men are continually seen to be dominant group in society. In a hunter-gatherer system long ago, men was the ones who was seen as provided, who was going out and hunt and provide food for women. And women were there to look after their families, working around the household, doing the family duties. According to Fatima Gross-Graves, who is the Vice President for Education and Employment at the state, she mentioned that inequality still exists due to discrimination, the concentration of low-paid jobs. It is absolutely true that discrimination plays a huge role in gender inequality, but understanding how discrimination came to exist, it is necessary to explain the understanding how discrimination came to exist, persistence of inequality. According to my experience, I remember when I was a young girl at home, I grew up in a family of 6, whereby it was only 5 boys and I was the only girl.
my grandmother used to send me out to do the house duties, and the men were just going out and playing soccer, and I was not allowed to do so. Conflict theory was existing there because I was suppressed as the woman, and it was believed that I was the only one who needed to perform duties. Amen.
Critique of conflict theory on gender. It tends to dismiss the consensus amongst wives and husbands regarding the task allocation. It perpetuates the idea that men as a group are consciously organized to keep women in subordination position. Because household labor is unpaid and associated with lack of power, homemaker, usually the wives, takes on virtually all domestic chores. The more powerful spouse usually performs the least amount of household work they do.
I'll be talking about the gender pay gap. In working areas, there are types of jobs that are seen to require distinctly feminine or distinctly masculine characteristics, or furthermore, I could say men or women. So that's why sometimes the gender pay gap is identified. Gender pay gap refers to the average difference between a man's and a woman's salary. The wage gap is mostly expressed to women's earnings into men's earnings. Sometimes companies, like for example private companies, they will not pay women who took maternity leave. As a result, women are in this part are put in a disadvantage. Furthermore, salary is important for all parties, male or female, since we all need money to live. So this disparity constitutes a conflict among gender in a world of work. It also puts women on a disadvantage in terms of their yearly earnings and or salaries. Thank you.
So, as we conclude, from everything that we've talked about, me and my peers, we've seen that conflict theory and functionalism, there are two major problems in the society. Since we have imbalances of women and men, we see men being taking the higher positions at work, we see men relaxing at home, we see women working more. At the end of the day, women are paid less. So what can be done? So we've decided, or we have seen other solutions to life, that there is no other way that these problems can be solved besides educating the society on how we should live. Times have changed. So as times have changed, I think our thinking also has to change. Since we see people abusing each other, discriminating each other through violence, through gender roles have to be equal for everybody. It's not about a man saying something and the woman has to abide through that. But we all have to have a say in the society. So we thank you for listening to our presentation and hope that you are educated. Thank you.
We are equal, and all should be treated equally. In workplaces, we should be treated equally. In the society, we should be treated equally. Everywhere we go, we should be treated equally. There is no man, there is no woman. We are all the same. We are all equally. We should be treated equally. Gender imbalances should be abolished and should be stopped. Everyone must be equal and treated equally in this world.